Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Welcome to episode 39 of the Near Memo. I'm here with David and Mike, and we're going to be talking about lots of interesting things. In fact, we had a long discussion about what we were going to talk about because there are too many things to talk about this week. We won't be talking about the Facebook Meta rebranding / metaverse. Maybe we'll do that later. There's a lot to say on that. I do have to say a quick
comment. I can't resist the landing page for the rebrand, which if you type meta.com, that's how I got there. Is one of the most dystopian landing pages I've ever seen. It's a bunch of people, alone in their social metaverse with their VR goggles on, and there's one where a guy is like texting on his phone, and his girlfriend has this like, what the hell, man? Like, I'm right here kind of look on her face. It's just very, and Zuckerberg in this sort of, weird dystopian ex machina style landscape by himself. I mean, it's just a really horrific piece of marketing from a company that desperately needs better marketing. So,
and I saw on Twitter that Wendy's was going to rebrand as Meat.
That's one of the best responses I've seen. So anyway, that's not one of the main items. I just felt like
there have been a bunch of these brand jacking tweets that have been pretty funny. That Meat is very funny.
Good. Anyway,
in today's world, that might work as a fast food brand.
But then you'd have to sub-qualify whether it's real meat or synthesized meat.
That's right.
And then vegan synthesized meat, because McDonald's has been using synthesized meat for years. Okay, so we did talk about Meta, sort of, but also I'm writing about, but we won't be talking about the Uber All Fake Reviews report that came out together with the TripAdvisor,
which was a great report. I think people should download it if they haven't seen it. I thought you did a really nice job on it. So I can,
thank you.
Toot your horn if I
endorse
can endorse it.
You can endorse it. Well, I mean, regardless of whether or not my work is good, it's an important issue for the industry, and not enough is being done. And I'll put the download link in the newsletter today. But I am going to start off with an item that actually appeared last week in last Friday's newsletter, but really didn't get any coverage or discussion that I could see, and that was the announcement of Amazon's local selling, which is an effort by Amazon to essentially utilize its small business sellers in any given geography to act as buy online, pick up in store outlets or local delivery sources for
products.
Was
it just their products, or was it anyways products?
As far as I understand, it's third-party sellers, and it's their own products that they have in store, and they have to apply. Right now, you have to apply for this. And it's kind of a little bit under the radar, but I thought it was a fascinating announcement because Google's key strategy in competing with Amazon has been to show a mix of local inventory and e-commerce inventory, right? So they can sort of claim that we're the source of the totality of options for you, and to really emphasize the local online to offline kind of experience. And Amazon really, that's something that Amazon hasn't been able to offer, and now they're sort of dipping their toe in the water of trying to do something like that, and really leveraging their sellers to compete with Google. It's not so much a benefit for the seller as it is a benefit for Amazon ultimately if they can get this going at some kind of scale.
It's an area that Google, I thought, when they started this effort several years ago, I thought it was brilliant positioning by Google to create an alternative way of getting into reclaiming product search at a local level. And they've done a number of things with this regard, recalling Frugal, right? Making Merchant Center free, partnering with Shopify to get all this real-time inventory up. And now when you do a product search, you are likely to see local results, so Google has been killing it, I think, on this front. I don't know how much success they've had, but I think from a development point of view, and I see Amazon's response as to some extent, a day late and a dollar short. I'm not sure.
I also noticed, I happened to use Google Shopping a couple of times this week, and there was a filter in there I hadn't remembered seeing before, which is you can actually check smaller stores as a source of the products that you're looking at on Google Shopping.
What is the verbatim name?
Smaller
of the filter?
stores. Yeah, something
Mall
like
store.
that. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen that either.
That was
That's
new to me anyway, but I feel like there's a new SERP feature every day that seems new to me that Barry Schwartz covered 3 years ago. So, so anyway, I agree with both of what you guys are saying, or what both of you guys are saying in terms of Google's market positioning and everything else. I wonder on the Amazon front if it's not going to extend a little bit further. Mike, you've written historically that, or previously, that the Kohl's partnership for Amazon Prime has been a win-win for both parties, and it's not that far-fetched to see this rolling out to smaller merchants than Kohl's as part of this program.
You mean return?
Exactly,
making them into return centers.
Which is Kohl's has data to suggest that people buy X number of dollars in Kohl's every time they return an Amazon item.
Right.
So it's possible that something like that can come of this partnership as well. I continue to think that Amazon's real the real businesses that they're destroying are large CPG brands and large in-store brands, like traditionally in-store brands like Walmart, Target, big box stores. I think that their dent in local businesses has been a little bit overreported, and small businesses have seen tremendous success as marketplace sellers in much the same way that they have succeeded selling on eBay or other online marketplaces. So I think that this is it's good branding for Amazon. It's a good market strategy against Google, and I think that there could be longer term benefits for local merchants. So
to make a point on what you just said, like the Borders of the world went out of business, but there's now more independent bookstores than ever.
Is that true? Is that really true? That historically there have
I don't know about more, but
bookstores?
they're growing again. Like, let me put it that way.
Well, so interestingly, Amazon, and in addition to everybody else, this has been a very heavy week of earnings. Amazon reported their earnings yesterday, and I didn't look at them in detail, but one of the things that I did see was that their growth was really sort of flat to non-existent, right? So what's happened is people are starting to go back into stores essentially, and they're buying less stuff online, and Amazon is seeing that in its numbers, and so this may partly be. I think everything that we've talked about is true. And I think your point, David, about some of these stores being return, places where people can return products is really a fascinating one. But I think that this is also partly a response to what's going on in the broader market, is that Amazon really fundamentally recognized that the offline component is really essential for, future growth. And there are all sorts of ways in which they've developed offline, presence, including sort of hypothetically their own discount stores, which they may or may not open, but that was a rumor.
Yeah, their expenses were way up too, as they sort of had to cope with supply chain issues and delivery issues, and they doubled down on investing in that, so their expenses were way up. Although usually with Amazon, I don't see that as a big issue, because usually when they invest like that, it's not just a short-term thing. They're building capacity. And I saw, tangentially to that, I saw that they have now become the number 3 package deliverer in the United States, I think, passing FedEx, and to be third behind UPS and United States Postal Service.
Yep. Well, we could talk a lot more about Amazon and a lot of interesting things going on there, but I want to move on in the interest of time. And Mike, you did a webinar yesterday for Duda with Joy Hawkins and Ben Fisher, in which you talked a lot about images on Google, and I know that's a particular interest of yours.
Sure, we all did. Joy has done some great research, but to me, what's interesting about images and Google is this arc of the historical arc where Google started developing their AI to understand image content, and how that's affected the local search result, where they are now driving ads, local packs, mobile organic result with intent-driven queries. They're delivering up images that match the query, and it represents their increasing understanding. So if you, for example, do a product search like a Nikon, whatever product, a Nikon camera, and that will show up in the ads. It'll show up, images will show up in local pack, images will show in the organic mobile thumbnails. And this is all done without the benefit of image alt tags. It's done with Google's understanding of the context and the content of the image.
And it also works with, it doesn't even have to be a specific product. It can be a generic product category, such as strollers. And you'll see the stroller department at Walmart showing up in an image in the local pack. So
So that we talked a lot about that, and how a company like Air.cam, who I'm consulting for, is leveraging this to understand how they understand images. So when you take the image initially, it can be clear that the image is understood by Google, because machine learning is never perfect, and they often make stupid machine learning mistakes. And it's important for SEOs to think about images in that bimodal way, that it has to serve both the aesthetic interest of the business as well as the technical understanding that Google has of the image. So we talked about that in great length. The other thing we talked about was video, and how video, and one of the things I just wanted to mention here was just this tactical idea of using Riverside for local SEOs, or for any SEO, to generate content. Riverside is the product we're using to record this, which
you have no economic
I have no economic relationship with. That's correct.
If the FTC is listening.
But the idea was that you could use this to interview your small business customers who have tremendous hard time generating content for their website. Ask them 8 or 9 questions, get 2-minute answers. They're super high quality. They're uploaded to the cloud. You can then edit them, transcribe them, and have a year's worth of content in a half hour or an hour recording session. And it was just about, and so I just see the evolution of these video tools and the evolution of these photographic tools as something that agencies can leverage for their clients for significant gain. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Two quick points on that. I mean, increasingly, search is concentrated on mobile devices. Images and video are better suited to mobile devices, in terms that, rather than extended text articles. And then what's now I'm blanking on the second point I was going to make. The second point
I would make is that Google is now going to be using, as we go forward over the next 5 years, Google is going to use images as part of a query string, right? That historically been able to drop an image into Lens, get a single answer back. But now you can add context to an image that you're dropping into Google search, and textual context, and Google will answer the image query in context. So Google has used it historically for search results and matching intent. Now they're actually going to be generating. So it opens up a whole new area of SEO, which is matching images to the queries. I don't even know how that would work.
To search intent,
right? So
I remember the second thing I was going to say. So increasing. Okay. No, I liked it, but it's related to what you said. Is that increasingly sort of visual search will be whether it's being conducted sort of online in a sense, like the Instagram search for related products feature, or Pinterest, right? You're on the site and you click on an image, or you upload the image, as you're mentioning, or if in the real world, right? I mean, you're in a store and you take a picture of a lamp or a chair, or you're out in the world and you take a picture of a stroller, right? So those are increasing use cases going forward, and Google wants to be able to serve them, and it can today, but I mean, it'll get better and better as an alternative sort of vehicle for search rather than a kind of query in a box.
Which speaks to the actual use of AR as opposed to the imagined use of AR in Meta's introduction yesterday. To circle back to
the company
we're not going to talk about.
We won't name.
No, I'm going to take a stab at a segue, though, Mike, from images to the importance of images within your Google My Business profile to draw in customers. And Joy Hawkins finally, after years of me bugging her, although I'm sure that wasn't the real reason that she did it, finally published the results of her ongoing analysis of where leads for her clients are coming from vis-a-vis the GMB profile versus organic results. And it's something that, Mike, you and I have highlighted for years. It's great that Joy finally published this data, which historically had only lived in one slide of a MozCon presentation from like 2019 or something, which went to show that GMB is responsible basically for 3 to 1 versus Google organic leads for a whole range of categories. I think insurance, PI lawyers, might have been a dentist in there. I can't remember what the third category was. But it's pretty staggering that GMB is responsible for so much of the ultimate conversion of your customers. And I still think it's just wildly neglected by businesses of all sizes with respect to their SEO investment, right? People are spending all of this time on on-site SEO, and when in reality they need to be focused on the point of contact or the point of decision for a whole range of at least getting customers in the door, which is GMB, and a huge part of that is images. So there's a historic underinvestment in image optimization. A lot of things Mike was just talking about 2 minutes ago. There's, I think, a historic underinvestment in reviews and a historic underinvestment in just general responsiveness to customers on GMB, whether that's leaving questions unanswered or reviews unresponded to. So I just feel like the more that this story gets out there with actual data from studies like Joy's published on sterlingsky.ca, I'm hopeful that will start to move the marketing conversation a little bit to where I think it should be if you want your business to attract customers.
And this trend, which I've identified in the Google as Your Homepage presentation, I think in 2017, the Local U Advanced for Barbara Oliver, at that point, 60% of her leads or something were coming from Google My Business directly. When I reanalyzed that 6 months ago, 90% were. So that number is growing as well.
And
so
Joy
it's pretty
pointed that out as well, that GMB leads are growing across the board in all these categories, whereas organic leads were much more volatile. And that's the other thing, is like you're much more subject to the whims of whatever algorithmic update there is. Whereas if you're focused on GMB, you've got a strong GMB presence. That algorithm has seemed to be more stable historically, at least anecdotally to me. And B, it's something that consumers are actually going to see even on a recovery search as opposed to a discovery one.
So I mean, I've heard SEOs disparage the people that are focused on GMB, kind of talk negatively about them, and that this is sort of child's play in the SEO world versus what they're doing, which is a much more elaborate and important function. But in fact, I mean, as you're saying, that you could just concentrate your entire effort. If you were a business that had a physical location or a service area business, you could concentrate your entire effort on Google My Business and be fine, without any organic optimization.
Organic optimization plays into how well you perform in these.
Yes, it's a ranking factor. Right. It's definitely a ranking factor according to Google. But if for a small business that doesn't have a lot of time, doesn't have a lot of money, this is where to concentrate.
Well, the reality of local is you need a website to serve your Google My Business. So in terms of priorities, website and Google My Business are sort of tied for first. But
you can use one of these platforms that has built-in optimization.
Correct. Or you could even, if you were really low end, use Google websites
which you did with that Spot to Be case study, right?
Correct. So but you do have to have a website. That's what people need to understand as part of this. It could be a free website. But you have to have one that's visible and indexable and says what you do and where you do it, all that sort of stuff. Obviously, if you invest more in that, I think you're going to do better in Google My Local. But you could satisfy 90% of your demand with those two tools.
Right.
You add email to capture all these customers. You've got a trifecta of future success.
Right.
I mean, my point was only that you would focus your effort, that you would not be distributing your energy and resources equally. I mean, I think there's a longer conversation probably for service area businesses, because sometimes they have trouble in GMB, getting
and in fact, there's
represented.
Reports this week that there's been a decline in SAB.
Bug.
Whether it's an algorithmic update or a bug.
Mike thinks it's a bug.
SABs
right?
have been much more historically impacted by radical changes in GMB than other types of businesses. So
it's
right, and that's a whole different area and challenging. But so all right, so we're at time. Last words today. Any meta words?
I'm going to rebrand as Mike.
Meta Mike.
I'm waiting for my Meta profile to start capturing all of these VR followers that I know must be out there somewhere.
I did see that they're coming out with a watch. I'm not going to switch. Just saying.
You're talking about a Facebook
No,
watch?
a Meta watch. A Meta watch, Greg.
A Meta watch. That's not a Facebook watch. That's right.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah,
Meta watch? Is that the brand?
Yes, I assume.
That's so they can Meta watch you all the time.
Bada bing. Bada
Anyway,
bing.
all right. On that dystopian but yet still humorous note, we'll end today's Near Memo, and we'll see you next
All
week.
right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.